those days.
Yeah, because they didn't want to use, Joe wasn't really up for using the House Rocker name. So, because it was already been used before, but when we signed with Ronda Records, they wanted to that, you know,
keep that continue,
that continuity, and, you know,
people recognize something. Yeah, there's name recognition. You definitely don't want to.
Right. So that's how that came to stay.
That's always hard to come up with a name for a band. I put out the solo record, and I was like, oh, well, what am I going to call the band? You know, I got to give them a name now. You know, I can't really say.
Usually, it's all been done before somewhere. So
yeah. So I know Zeke is probably listening. So I thought about this favorite. So favorite Springsteen song, favorite Springsteen album. What would you think?
For me?
Yeah. I was listening to that song, and I was hearing a lot of that kind of influence, and I know that there's a connection there with him producing one of your records, and also with House Rockers. So I was kind of curious. That was one thing I was thinking. I hate to put you on the spot. I'll ask you after maybe if you want to think about it a little bit, but. I really like a lot of his acoustic stuff, you know, the Ghost of Tom Joad and Devils and Dust and stuff, and that's probably, you know, popularity-wise, is not a lot of his favorite stuff, and you know. But
well, I think that's where I probably lie. You know, I mean, I think that my wife and I remember we went up to Youngstown to see the Ghost of Tom Joad tour, and I just remember sitting there thinking that this was the most powerful thing I've ever heard in my life. And I've heard the E Street Band many times, you know, obviously. Played with some of those guys, but I just always felt that, you know, those kind of that his songs, just with him and an acoustic guitar, were very powerful. You know, when the lyrics are able to, you know, really do what they're supposed to do.
Going all the way back to Nebraska, I think that really he has this duality going on where he has two different career. Nebraska branches off into all that. Then he has stuff with the East.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, I mean, I think all the really good writers can do that. I mean, you look at Neil Young and you know, that kind of stuff. Even the newer one, you know, Ryan Adams, or, you know, they do a variety of different. They present their music in a lot of different ways, and that's kind of like what I've kind of tried to do in the last 10 years. Is I've tried to take my music and really present it in a lot of different ways, where I can go out as a solo artist, I can go out as a band, duo, you know, I tour quite often as a duo or a trio or a solo.
Yeah, I'm in the same situation. I know exactly what you mean, because you go into the studio, you record a record with a full band, and then bringing a full band out on the road, it nowadays is a very difficult thing to do financially, and just trying to
do that, you know.
So in picking songs for my next CD, that's like one of the things that.
Well, I like the idea that the songs are never finished. You know, so when you record in the studio, you take on the road and
it morphs into something else.
Whatever it may be. You know,
it's like Dylan plays something. I mean, how many different times? You know, he mixes it up, and you almost have to, because. You know, it gets boring after a while to play the same thing over and over and over again. You almost become a caricature of or a karaoke machine of yourself. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you've just joined us, you're listening to Acoustic Songs Live here on WNJR 91.7 FM and streaming live at WNJR.org. Also, instant message at WNJR Radio if you want to send us an instant message. We have Bill Toms here in the studio. He's playing live for us, and what would you like to do for us next? Anything?
Well, I think this was a title track of a record that I had out 1999. It was called My Own Eyes. And what I was doing with this record was, as we talked before, I was like looking into the early songwriters of America, of the American conscious, I guess you'd say, Woody Guthrie and Lead Belly and you know, Pete Seeger. And what I realized as I was studying them and reading up on all these great songwriters was they had no real commercial ambition. You know, they didn't grow up like we did. You know, we grew up with AM radio thinking that success as a musician was selling 1 million records.
You got to have a hit.
Yeah, you got to have a hit. Well, these guys, you know, it was their art form, it was their way of life, you know, and that really started to hit me, you know, as I started getting older. It started hitting me. So this song, you know, I wrote it in regard, when I sing it, I think of Woody Guthrie and those guys that came before me. And basically what I was trying to do is, you know, connect the dots to what we do now, you know, from what they did then. So this is called My Own Eyes. Living on the outside, angled just to be alive. Never had much as I recall. Always had a gift for noticing what's right and wrong, and following my heart's desire. And one way will stand while the other way will fall. These things I've seen with my own eyes, with my own eyes. I met a man in Tucson, moving on down the tracks. Land of milk and honey takes its toll, picking up some dust, coughing up a lung or two. Hey buddy, it's just a job. And one way you'll stand while the other way you'll fall. And these things I've seen with my own eyes, with my own eyes. We're down in the valley tonight, and the shadows dance, the fire's burning bright. Don't believe what's written on these walls. I'm just one man in this long line, just another face in the crowd. I set out on my own, nothing's gonna change my mind, nothing's gonna hold me down. And one way will stand while the other way will fall. And these things I've seen with my own eyes, with my own eyes, with my own eyes, with my own eyes. Oh,
All right, great tune.
Thank you.
I mean, that's really, it's just, that's all you can write from, you know, really,
Right.
From experience and what you were saying about Guthrie and those guys, and difficult to not write from experience. You know, like if you're going to craft something that maybe you don't have a connection to, you know, it'll come out, I think.
Right.
You know,
well, I think honesty will always come out to the audience. You know, I mean, eventually somewhere. You know, now they can shine it up and make a pop hit out of it, but I think, you know, if you do the stuff that we do, you know, if you're writing stuff, you know, that we're writing,